You are listening to Bridging the Gap, the podcast where we talk about businesses going global with the help of localization.
Stay tuned to meet the marketing, product, and software experts that make brands international and learn strategies to speak your customer's language.
Hi everyone, how are you doing today?
Hi, Marta. I'm great.
Hi, Marta. I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
So we have a third voice here today, and we were talking at the beginning of the conversation. I wanted to introduce Kareem, which is our guest today, and I had problems pronouncing his surname, and I want clarification for that, please.
Yeah, so it's Kareem Ennassag. That's how it's written. It's slightly different variation in my home country of Egypt, which is Kareem Ennassag, but I'll go with what they put on my official papers. That's fine.
Does anyone pronounce it well at this point?
No, because they don't know to. They don't know how to. That's that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So Kareem is the technical director at the LangOps Institute. We were talking about how Arabic is such a difficult but beautiful language, and I was wondering, since we are a Czech company and I don't speak Czech, I'm sorry about that. I'm trying. Which one is the most difficult? Like Czech and Arabic for me, it's like challenging for me both.
Well, you have it easier with Czech, for example, because you share the same alphabet, the Latin alphabet, with a bit of variations and so on. With Arabic, you have to adjust to a whole new writing system, a whole new alphabet, or abjad, as the technical term would say, and also direction of writing and reading. So that's another right to left. Yeah.
What do you think, Honza? Like,
Yeah.
what is the
Yeah.
most difficult language for you?
It's always relative. Like you can find some language difficulty scales all over the internet, but it's usually related to English native speakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always relative. For example, for me, when I was learning Polish, it was super easy for me, but it's deemed to be one of the most difficult languages for some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine the phonetics are similar to Czech in some way.
Yeah.
That helps.
They are related, the same family, basically. So it's easier.
Yeah.
That helps. You take someone from Spain and we just don't know how to pronounce the W's and things like that. It's quite difficult for us.
Yeah.
Karim, just to begin with, can you introduce yourself apart from being an Arabic speaker? Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at the LangOps Institute? Because I think it's kind of new. People don't know about it yet.
That is correct. It is new. So Kareem, that's my name. Technical director, that's my position at the LangOps Institute, which we started in January this year, 2025. We had the launch event. Then we announced to the board the existence of the LangOps Institute and what we are. And what we are is an organization that aims to educate and train and prepare other companies, organizations with on how to build a proper LangOps framework for their business, which is something that we'll probably go into more details later, and how to move from what was the traditional way of thinking about language as a final step in a production cycle or a product's life cycle to a core and integrated part of that product from inception until delivery, and how you can build your systems in a way that would enable this integration. Yep.
So I guess this is something that came up with globalization and internationalization. Like people and companies need to speak multiple languages now. It wasn't that case in the past. So it's not just the final step now. Sometimes it was even like not necessary. So I hear this a lot at Localazy. Like some of our clients just take localization as one step in their process, and they don't think about localization in the beginning, and then it all hell breaks loose because they weren't prepared. So is this something that LangOps prevents?
Yes, absolutely, and this is the core of in its name. LangOps is short for language operations, and it is related to everything related to language. It deals with everything related to language, and if you think of it, it's everything you do with your cycle. I'm going to take, for example, a software company, your code is a language, right? You write in whatever that language. You communicate with people in another language through your prompts, your screens, your messages, and things like that. Then you send it to visual designers or your UX designers, and they have their own language interpreting. I think I'm getting a bit philosophical, but if we get to the bottom of it, it is what it is. And then you have the marketing people, the sales people. Each one of those people have their own terminology that they use, their own concept that they use. The same concept can change names from one team to another until it gets to the market. And in that market, you have to also use a different language for your different locale. If you go to a multilingual country, right, you have to use different languages. And within even some languages, you have different dialects and different things like that. So in all that process, what happens is usually not everyone is on the same level of understanding of what's happening, right? Not everyone is following the same process when it comes to generating content and managing that content, right? So the idea is can we build a system that make it so that from the very beginning of that process until the very end, everyone is aligned on what this piece of information means and how to implement it, how it should be done, and all that. So that at the end, if a change happens in one place, it will cascade properly where it needs to be, and changes happen all the time, right? So language operations is about breaking silos. Teams don't operate separately, right? Language, and I was going to talk about localization and translation, is not an end thing. You have to think about the markets and the languages you're going to go into from the beginning and build your system in a way that is language agnostic, as we like to say. It doesn't cater to the source language only. It accommodates other languages. It accommodates their needs, necessities, and all the changes that need to be done. And that is, we can't say it starts from the beginning. It's a process that you have to implement the whole way.
So if I understand this correctly, LangOps is providing tools, or let's say best practices, how to deal with these changes?
LangOps is a mindset. Think of it as a mindset or a framework that you can work with. Any tool can be LangOps, LangOpsy, we like to call it. Any tool can be a LangOps tool if used properly, right? You don't need to invest in a specific technology to achieve that. As proven by so many organizations and things. One thing we like to say is you could be actually operating with LangOps principles, but you don't know it yet, or you don't have that name yet. It's about optimizing the workflows and the processes. So if you do that properly in your organization with your workflows, then you've already done it. So it's not about a specific technology. It's about how you approach and use that tool or that technology to do that, and how you build your team around it.
Understand. Yeah. Thank you so much for explanation. So can you share just the basic core principles behind LangOps that consist of this mindset change? Yeah,
of course. So let me talk a bit about the history of LangOps, how it started, because that could explain a bit of these concepts. So it started a while ago when a group of people who were pioneers in their field with building the first TMS, for example, if you heard about Jochen Hummel. And he was one of the people who invented and developed Trados. And later on came to do other things, and other people from other companies came together with the mindset of like, okay, how to advance, like translation management systems and translation memory were huge advance for the localization world when it was first introduced, but now there is the need for more. It's just how it grew, and with the advance of all the different models and different localization techniques and different localization practices that happen, the industry itself evolved beyond what was just what people like to call just translation, even though that's very not not true.
Or just translation.
Exactly, it's never just translation, but that's sometimes when we get to introduce ourselves, what do you do? Oh, I'm doing localization. What does that mean? It's translation, all right? So, but it is, of course, there is more than that. So the industry developed, the practice developed, and all that. So they found that there is a need for a new terminology, something new to encompass this, to represent this, especially with the advance of AI, with the craze that's going on about, AI will replace humans and you don't need translators anymore. We don't need project managers anymore. We don't need the linguists. We don't need, and all these things that happened. So they sat together and they created the LangOps organization, which is the movement behind that all the LangOps pioneers are members of, who are all agree on the principles that govern what LangOps is. I can't recite them, I can read them right now, but let's talk about the main ones because they're quite, there's about 12 of them. But at the core is use AI responsibly, right? AI is not the end goal. It's not the thing that's going to solve all your problems. And as we actually get more accustomed to AI and what it can do, we understand that this is true. Never forget about the human at the core, which is a term coined by CSA research about humans. You cannot operate any of these things without a person in them. Like there's no 100% automated system when it comes to language. You cannot just do that. If you want quality, of course, and if you want some good reach. And building interoperability in your system. No team is isolated from others. Everything is connected to one degree or another, and many other concepts. Right, that was the theory. All right, and then came the LangOps Institute as the way of implementing this theory and putting it into practice. That's where the institute came in and just wanted to say, okay, now we need to start training the people, right? And they need to start training the companies and the teams into these concepts, what this means, and get them to understand this better and get to know it better, and give the people the new tools, the new skills that they need to develop in this new world, right? How linguists, we translators' jobs are changing, right? Whoever says that the translator's job is no longer needed is a bit misled, I would say, by some of the messaging. A bit misled, but it is changing. There's less. That is natural, okay, because with some of the advanced, but the rule itself is changing. There are things that the translators need to learn more about rather than just translation. And when I say just translation, I do not want to devalue what they do. I mean, just like the act of translation itself is very important, but there are so many other things that you need to know now as well to be competitive in the field. So yeah, that's how it all started, right? And now I will need Jan to remind me of the question because I feel like I diverted a bit. Sorry.
No. You basically stayed on point. I was asking about LangOps. How can I understand it, and what are the core principles that should guide the organization through this?
So go visit LangOps Institute, langops.institute. That's our website for the institute, and langops.org. That's for the movement, and you will find all of our principles explained there. And you can reach out to any of us, really any of the institute members, and we're more than happy to talk to you about it. We have courses to explain LangOps and in basics and things like that. So more than welcome to talk to anyone who's willing to talk to us.
I'm just wondering, Kareem, if you can walk us through the kind of case studies you guys get, because you are kind of recent, but this whole philosophy is very interesting. And I was wondering what kind of people and companies approach you. What are their demands? What do they need? And is this the kind of companies where they actually, like, they have a conscience about what localization is and what language operations are? Or they are just looking for some help because everything is a mess and they don't know how to handle localization properly?
Well, we are at the current stage. We're working with mostly on the localization industry peeps, so they know what they're talking about. We haven't got much exposure with the client side. One of our missions is to educate that side of the equation. I like to call it like there's an equation, the buyer and the seller equation, and we need to educate the other side early enough.
Right.
about the importance of it. So we like to show examples of what late adoption of these practices. As every localization expert and professional knows, everyone regrets not having localization from the beginning, right? Even just the basics of it. But not many companies understand what localization is. So one big part of our mission is to promote that. And we like to, when we talk with someone or in our messaging, explain that it's not just about localization, right? It's about your content, about what you do, everything you use language in, every team that you do, all your strategies. It's go to market, it's sales, it's development, it's research. All these stuff are involved in this. It's not the same. And we're trying to move away from localization as a last step by explaining that it's about language and how to integrate it into your systems. We've seen collectively, we've seen some examples of things that went bad, horrible delays. I can talk from my own experience, for example, about a medical device company that a very, very good product, absolutely brilliant product, that was developed in an English-speaking country, and as a startup, and they spent millions because of how rigorous the research and what they need to get it right. They spent millions of dollars on creating this product, and it was great success, huge success in their home country. Then came the time to go to other markets. Let's say they wanted to go to Europe, right? And if you're not familiar with what medical devices need, is that every single label on the product needs approval. And once it's approved, if you change the font size, if you change the color, if you change anything, you need to go through the process again. You need to go through the certification or verification process again. So when they came to go to the other markets and realized, oh my God, in French, this will be a lot longer and we cannot fit it in this, otherwise it won't be readable, right? I'm just taking French as one example.
And then there are regulations, right?
Exactly.
Involved.
And then the regulations of the French market and the European market as well. So they have the overarching regulations of Europe requiring this and this and this, and then specific to France and so on. And this was because the product was built with the design and planning with English only in mind from the beginning. I think they spent about 2 years trying to get things properly done for that market. They spent about 2 years, because it's not just the language, it's not just the labels, there's also logistics and other things. So the cost of delaying, or the cost of not thinking about localization is really, really costly when it comes to, and I have other examples I can share as well, but this is one of the most striking ones that I always like to talk about when it comes to the importance of integrating language and other languages into your design from the beginning.
The problem is, Kareem, I feel like many companies, when they're starting out, they don't see it as a problem, so they don't tackle it. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here. When you're just starting out and you don't have enough resources and investment for this, does it make sense to invest in localization? We know the answer is yes, but how we can push them to understand it's essential to do it in the early stage, in the early stages, because is it only about money, or is it also about the way people approach this topic and how they don't understand the consequences of not taking care of it in the early stage?
It's a bit of both. A lot of people think that it's costly or difficult to do that, right? And I feel in our experience, we understand it's not. It's not that costly. It's not that expensive. You don't have to go out and just go 20 or 30 languages from the get-go. You don't even have to go fully officially in one language, but at least get prepared and understand what is needed for that. All startups and all companies spend a lot of money on research, on marketing, on understanding the people they're trying to reach to, and all these things for their home country, which is totally understandable, right? But a little bit of understanding, a little bit of knowledge about the basic things about what is needed to go for other markets and other languages could save you a ton of time and could prevent a problem from ballooning out of proportion in a way that you 20 years later, and I'm going to tell another anecdote in a second, 20 years later, it's too difficult for you to change, right? For example, a very big software development company, right, has products that serve a huge, almost every corporate in the world. Very well known, right? And that company does not support right-to-left rendering. I'm not saying right-to-left language. I'm not saying they don't localize into Arabic or Hebrew or something like that. They don't support rendering of the text properly with bidirectionality and all this stuff. So even if I wanted to use the English interface, I cannot use any text in Arabic in there because it's unreadable for me, right? That company is billions of dollars worth. And until now, they haven't done this. Why? Because the products grew up too much. That trying to fix this existing problem is just going to be too time consuming, and of course money and all the stuff. And they have to rethink a lot of things about the design and things like that. But I think the biggest loss as well is they have no presence in the Middle East. Absolutely none. Or very limited, let's say, not absolutely, very limited in the Middle East. And that's a big market. That's a huge market. You're preventing yourself just because of something that you could have solved. I'm not going to say too easily, but comparatively to what it could give you and all stuff, it's worth it, you know? So the cost balloons over time. It's not just now, if you think about it. Yeah, and there are so many situations and many things they can do to implement localization. Build the basis, the framework, that would enable you to expand later on.
So this would have been solved if they had thought about it like when they were a little smaller, perhaps, because scaling now is just...
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So is it only a technical problem? Would you say it's only technical? Or is it also about the mindset they had from the beginning? Like they didn't understand that the UI should be comfortable for people from other cultures in the end?
Yeah. So it's a bit of... I think it's an issue of knowledge, right? Before I joined the localization world, before I got into this industry, I didn't know any of these things, right? It's not common knowledge. It's not common knowledge what the challenges are when you try to translate a prompt for us on a software, right? I didn't know what the challenge was or how difficult it was. So it's a matter of, and people see it everywhere, maybe people don't get exposed to multilingual contexts or things like that. If you speak only one language, you only go into that language, and that's it. You don't care about the others because you can't read it. So it's not possible for you to understand what's the problem there. So you only think within the scope of you as a user. And when you start a business or get into a business, you only get to think. You start to think about these with once you start, looking at it. We are lucky that we're bilingual or multilingual people with multiple languages, and we understand the nuances and the differences even before we joined the industry. But for the majority of people, they don't. And for businesses ran by these people, they also don't. So I think it's the onus on us as localization people and LangOps people and anyone related to language is just to educate people about the challenges. Get people to understand. Like if I could, I would go to every startup and start giving them a bit of a talk, an hour talk about, you need to think about this. Otherwise, it will be this and this and that. And so it's a mission that everyone needs to participate in. And we saw firsthand what the cost of delays are and how difficult it is to do it after the fact. Yeah.
Could you please share some, let's say, examples, because our listeners or our clients at Localazy are mostly startups or SMBs. And I am sure that they will be interested in, let's say, just a couple quick tips or tricks they can try to think about in order to prevent some of these problems in the future.
Okay. Of course, and of course, I cannot give advice that works on every product or every kind of product. I would say the first advice is search for your nearest Lock Lunch event and go there. People would be more than happy. People would be more than happy to talk with you about it, just and have over drink and explain.
That's education for free.
Absolutely. Read a bit about it. Like all you need to know is just start reading a bit about localization challenges. Like go on a Google search and just localization challenges for whatever industry and things like that. And you will find a lot of resources that would tell you what the biggest pitfalls are and things like that. From there, you can try to look into. I'm not trying to get anyone to pay any money for anything, even though that's in my best interest. There's a lot of resources that can tell you what you need to start doing to future-proof yourself, right? Once you're ready, I feel like for any product, spend a bit of time localizing your product into at least one language, just one. That is different from your source, and try to make it as different as possible. Like, don't go from French to Spanish, for example. Go from French to Japanese, right? I'm going to go with another left to right language, but completely different things with different considerations. It doesn't have to go live. You don't have to go to that market or anything like that. But this would be your exercise to see what it means like to do. For software engineers, that could be a lot easier than someone making a physical product to sell. But yeah, do that. And in the process, while you're working, keep it like someone nagging in your head. Okay, how would you do this for that language? How would you do this for that language? What would it need for that language? And go from there. Take notes. Do all your observations on what is needed for that. You will notice that if you do it now, and I'll guarantee you this, if you start doing this now, you will understand its importance and its value in the future. Once you have a product that is in millions or something, and you start talking and start implementing this stuff. I feel like for lots of companies, the cost of entering into localization later in the stage is actually preventing them from going there because of the effort it takes. They have achieved success in their own language, or one language or two, whatever they started with, and they couldn't accommodate for others. So from the beginning, the cost of change is too high, so they had to stop and not do it. And that's a shame, because as we all know, it's not as complicated or as costly as it is to start a new product. But I think of it this way: however much effort you put into creating your product, into your the initial product in your own language, right? It will be a fraction of that compared to going to another markets and selling there in their own language. A fraction, but you opened a whole new market for yourself. It's that's why ROI is one of the measures that is very, very difficult to assess in localization. Sure. And it's very tricky, because how would you know how well you would be in a market that you don't speak the language of, right? The product is good and everything, but you don't speak the language, people aren't going to buy. That's it. So many people are, even multilingual people, they don't like buying products in other languages if they can avoid it. So do some research, some preliminary initial research, and that will tell you what you need to take care of from the beginning, no cost at all. Or grab your nearest localization expert, and they will be more than happy to eat your ears out, talking about everything.
Yeah, this is something we're actually encountering like on a daily or weekly basis, and that's that the cost of starting with localization is pretty high, but it's like pretty well worth the effort. But there's no magic trick. Sometimes you just have to roll out your sleeves and do the work to get started.
Yeah. And
what
it's very... Sorry, go ahead.
No. What I gather, Kareem, is that in these tricks you were providing, what I gather is that this is something you have to talk with your team since the beginning. This has to be part of the company philosophy, like being a part of the initial market research and being aware of what technicalities you need to discuss with your developers, for example. Is that what you were conveying?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not, when I talk about you and your team and just the peeps that are working together on that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and can this be done on a budget? Because I'm just trying to think like a company is listening right now, and this is too much work. This is too expensive. Can this be done on a budget? You have like a startup with 10 people. Can they do this with minimal expenses? They need to spend some money on the research and the initial localization test you mentioned. But
if we're talking about preparing for localization and preparing for global expansion, absolutely yes, absolutely. Again, it's about changing the mindset, and that costs nothing, right? It doesn't cost a lot to change your mindset about how to approach these things. The technology you use have to be compatible with what you want to do, right? There are so many solutions out there that are monolingual, one language focused, but don't support that kind of stuff. If we talk about software programming and things like that, there are frameworks that offer internationalization options that are better than others. Some don't even offer it, or if you're that old, if you're using such an old stack. Choose your technology stack, right? Build a technology that actually is going to support what you are going to help you expand and scale. Understand if you're using 5 tools, can they talk with each other, right? Can they communicate with each other well? Or are you going to have to struggle and pay extra later on for them to work together? That's something you need to consider when you're working on a budget, right? Because when you expansion could be very slow or could be booming. Like if you boomed and got lucky and suddenly it got big, do you have to change your systems, or do your current systems enable that? If you had an opportunity in another country tomorrow, right, and you need to start working on this tomorrow to deliver in a month, does your system support you that? Do your technology support you to do that? And this is something that that we can help with as professionals, and I'm going to plug the institute here because we also do certifications, technology certifications regarding technologies that are going to be LangOps compliant, in the sense of it would enable you to build a system that provide you with the tools you need to build a LangOps framework, and so on. And also we have consultation and things like that that could help you with understanding the best tools for your purposes, what to look for and what to avoid if you are going for expansions in the future. So absolutely, yes, you can do it on a budget, especially the testing phase. If you don't plan on going live, you can do things free. Use machine translation, right? Use machine translation to test things. You don't need to, if it's not going live, it's okay, but it will teach you very, very valuable lessons about how things will be. And that doesn't cost really much, does it? So, yeah, start with the technology stack, and the things you're already going to pay for, just choose the right ones, and you can do that.
So integrations and scalability.
Absolutely, integrations. That's good. That's a very concise way of saying all the stuff. Well done, well done.
Okay, so Kareem, this has been super interesting. I fear that we might need to continue the conversation on another episode.
Absolutely, I would love to. I would love to. I'm here all day. No problem at all.
So, before we wrap it up, could you just remind our listeners where they can find more information about LangOps or resources, and where they can learn more about the whole institute and the things you are offering?
Our website is langops.institute. You can search for me on LinkedIn. You can find the LangOps Institute on LinkedIn. You can connect to any member of the institute. We're a very small team at the moment, but we are more than happy to talk with you, chat with you. All of our first calls are free, so and consequent ones as well, no problems. We do that, but our goal is to help, to advise, and to provide you with the knowledge you need to do what you need to do. So please reach out at any time. We're more than happy to talk.
Brilliant. I will leave all the resources down below in the description box for you guys, so you can check them out. And see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for being here with us, Kareem.
Thank you for having me. This was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Guys, bye-bye. See you soon.
Bye.
If you like this episode, please follow our channel and add it to your favorites so you don't miss the next conversation. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube for updates and bonus content. Until next time, stay curious!